Here we go. This is the mop-up for May 22nd. This is the mop-up for May 22nd, 2023. I'm David Feldman. Coming up, Howie Klein from Down with Tyranny. The World Bank, the International Monetary Fund are synonymous with gangster capitalism. It's an all too familiar story. Lend money to a country in need. Then, when those countries can't pay it back, demand they privatize every state-run institution from electricity to water. In the past couple of years, China's Belt and Road Initiative has presented itself as a more benevolent way to borrow money for these countries. But according to Howie Klein from Down with Tyranny, it turns out thanks to China's aggressive and punitive money lending to poor countries, America is not the only country in danger of defaulting on its debt. Howie Klein from Down with Tyranny will tell us more about that momentarily. We'll also be talking about South Carolina Republican Senator Tim Scott, who made it official on Monday. He's running for president. Speaking from his alma mater, Charleston, South Carolina University, the 57-year-old African-American Republican has a $22 million war chest and has received the backing of the fourth richest man in the world, Oracle founder Larry Ellison, who attended Monday's big announcement. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, and even former Vice President Mike Pence could all announce that they are candidates for president before the end of May. The first Republican debates are only 3 months away. Delaware Senator Tom Carper announced today that 4 terms is enough, and he will not seek re-election in 2024. The 76-year-old now becomes the 4th Democratic senator who announced that he will not or she will not be running for re-election. Carper joins California's Dianne Feinstein, Michigan's Debbie Stabenow, and Maryland's Ben Cardin, in all saying they will not run for re-election. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen issued another warning on Monday that America will default on its loans by June 1st unless Democrats and Republicans raise the debt ceiling. Speaker Kevin McCarthy and President Joe Biden have resumed negotiations. For more on this, we are joined by the founder and treasurer of the Blue America PAC, and he writes Down with Tyranny, which everybody should read, Howie Klein. Hello, Howie.
Hi. Can I add one more breaking thing that just came through?
Yes.
The New York Times broke the story that Jack Smith is finally looking into how Trump was monetizing state secrets, which, of course, in my mind, opens up the whole question of firing squads.
For treason. So you're talking about the classified documents that he was selling, those classified documents? Is that what you're saying?
Well, maybe. I mean, the New York Times is talking about Jack Smith. It just came out. Jack Smith subpoenaing whoever, whatever, to do with Trump business dealings with 7 countries. From Turkey and China, the Saudis, UAE, etc. So, the implication is that this might have been how he was making money from the stolen documents. It doesn't say that.
Right. And when can we expect Jack Smith to issue those indictments?
I hope by 9 o'clock, but I don't know.
Well, we have to hurry because Howie Klein has an important dinner engagement. These are some of the stories.
Did I say it was a dinner?
You said you had to get off in exactly 20 minutes.
What makes you think it was a dinner?
Because everything you do involves dinner. You're either cooking it, thinking about it, preparing it, or going out for it.
Okay, well, you were right.
Is it dinner?
It is. But it's a business dinner. I'm going out with people from a hospital who want me to help them to set up a fundraiser. Basically, they want me to give them money as a donation, and I'm taking it seriously enough to go out with them.
Good. This is so. I should get you before you're going out to dinner, so you're not distracted by your cooking. So this is some of the stuff I want. If we have time, I want to talk to you about Jason Call, Democrat from Washington, who's running on the Green Party. This is one of the first candidates this cycle from the Green Party that you're endorsing. And then I want to talk about the Democratic Congressional Progressive Caucus demanding that Biden invoke the 14th Amendment. You write that Maxine Waters didn't sign on to that. I found that interesting. Chinese loan shark,
Right.
Tim Scott. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing this corporate whore's name properly. So let's start with him. Is it Steve Ricchetti? Who is Steve Ricchetti?
He and his brother are top lobbyists, very, 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 very close to Biden for decades. And Ricchetti's no longer a lobbyist, although he will be again, but instead working in the White House as a top aide to Biden. So he sort of sits on the right shoulder, whispering all the bad things in Biden's ear. Mm-hmm. Now that Clinton is gone, there's nobody sitting on the left shoulder. So he was put in charge of the negotiations with McCarthy. He's the one that's going to come to the deal. And you were right by calling him a corporate whore. That's what he is, and always has been.
I'm quoting you, Howie.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, he's definitely a bad guy, and he will have he's the one that'll have the final say on what the shape of the so-called compromise is, which oxes will be gored, or which oxen will be gored. Whose oxen will be.
There's no way Biden's going to use the authority given to him by the 14th Amendment, correct?
I would guess that that's right. There are still people that are hopeful. I'm not among them. I don't. This would be something that would make Biden's reputation historically, but I don't think he's looking for that. I think he's looking just to get the whole thing over with and out of the way and move on from there. Everybody's trying to protect their next election.
And he would get reelected by a landslide if he invoked his 14th Amendment rights to finally put an end to this debt ceiling nonsense, wouldn't he?
I think so. Ezra Klein disagrees. He's in the New York Times today, with a centrist point of view, which means, don't do anything that's going to upset anybody. And he's guessing that the swing vote on the Supreme Court will rule against it, and therefore we shouldn't do it. He's in such a putz, I can't believe I even ever read his stuff.
So the Congressional Democratic Progressive Caucus, they wrote a letter saying invoke it. Some Democrats, you wrote that a lot of new Dems who are members of the Progressive Caucus didn't sign on to the letter.
About a third of the caucus didn't sign on to it for one reason or another. The new Dems are all basically corporate whores as well, like Ricchetti, and they are, they tend to be more conservative, so they didn't sign on because they don't want to. But some of the ones on there who didn't sign on seem to indicate that they're very much in favor of it. I mean, I have a feeling that Ted Lieu, I didn't ask him, but I have a feeling he didn't sign on because he's a member of leadership now and they're not supposed to sign on to these kinds of things. But on the other hand, he's been on Twitter nonstop saying the same thing and urging that that the Fourth Amendment be invoked, the 14th Amendment be invoked. So, like I said, some people didn't sign for one reason, some people didn't sign for another reason. I tried to get the answer from my contacts at the caucus. They wouldn't tell me.
Right. Bernie says invoke the 14th Amendment. Is it fair to say that the debt ceiling talks are just vamping, so neither party has to address the real issues facing this country? They need a crisis.
Well, definitely vamping. I agree with you there. But, what they do is they have this breathtaking thing and they get everybody scared right up until the last minute. And then they come up with something that no one is happy with. And then they can say, well, we had no choice. This is the best we could do. And we only have 5 minutes left, so pass it.
Right. You've had people in your lives, in your business career, who have tried to destroy what you've built. And the best thing to do is don't dignify them. the Republican Party with the debt ceiling, they're trying to destroy what we've built as Americans. Why are we dignifying these debt ceiling talks? For no other reason, I think, than to...
Biden is a coward. Biden is a coward. I just told you who Steve Ricchetti is, his main guy. So we got a bad situation. Did you think we had anything better did you vote for the guy? Did you think we had anything better when in 2020? You knew. I told you what he was.
Right. Okay. So Jason Call. Let's talk about Jason Call, because he wrote a piece.
Jason is the opposite of what we've been talking about.
Right.
Jason was a member of the Central Committee of the Democratic Party of Washington State, I think, for 4 years. He ran for Congress twice as a Democrat. And finally, he said, I've been trying to change the party. I've been trying to bring them around to agree with their own values that they state. I can't even do that. It's hopeless. I am over it. And he joined the Green Party, and he's running for Congress again as a Green.
Right.
And I suggest that you and I have him on next week so we can hear from himself why he made that switch and why he thinks it's important that he not run as a Democrat this time.
Can he pop in Friday? Would he have time, and we'll do a fundraiser for him? Because I thought
I don't know.
I
can ask him.
The piece he wrote over Down with Tyranny was breathtaking, explaining why again, I'm a Democrat, and I know you're against choosing between the better of two evils. You write about that. I'm willing to choose between the better of two evils, but he writes
about what Biden is doing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for sounding cruel.
No, I'm not as courageous as you, but it feels like in Congress, we need more members of the Green Party and fewer members of the Democratic Party. And why hasn't the Green Party? We don't have a single, do we? We don't have any members of the Green Party serving.
That's correct. We don't have one. So that if Jason is elected, which is a long shot, then he would be the first. Jason is great. He got over 30,000 votes last time he ran, and he's up against a corporate dem named Rick Larsen, who's pretty awful. And the corporate dem can spend any amount of money he wants. He's loaded, and corrupt. Takes lots and lots of money from Big Pharma in return for his votes in their favor. And, Jason's up against that. We'll see what happens. But right. I'm not hopeful that he'll wind up in Congress.
You posted the 10 key values of the Green Party: grassroots democracy, social justice, ecological wisdom, nonviolence, decentralization, community-based economics, feminism, gender equity, respect for diversity, personal global responsibility, future focus, and sustainability. I don't think you have to be courageous to vote for a congressional candidate or a Senate candidate who's running for the Green Party, representing the Green Party. Let's talk about Ukraine. So one of the things that Jason Call writes over Down with Tyranny is that the Democratic Party is militaristic. And we are finding that some Republicans are against giving money to Ukraine. Is it fair to say the following? If you go back for the past 70 years, that Republicans are big proponents of spending on the military, but they are isolationists, that it is not disingenuous when you have people like Matt Gaetz or J.D. Vance or any Republicans saying, don't give money to Ukraine, although they got us into Iraq and Afghanistan. But there is a strong isolationist wing in the Republican Party. It's not dishonest completely for Hawley to be an isolationist. Isn't that the roots of the modern Republican Party?
You were right on when you were talking about J.D. Vance, because he hasn't voted for big military budgets, whereas Hawley has. So you were right with Vance. Hawley is another story. Hawley is a hypocrite. He wants to always. He wants to, be a friend of the Pentagon and the defense contractors, and he wants to, make noise about, and the reason he wants to make noise about not starting wars and not sending our guys over is because the guy who's running against him, Lucas Kunz, is very much opposed to foreign wars.
Right. But going back to my original question, is it fair to say that when you talk about the modern day Republican Party, in their DNA is a strain of isolationism, strong military spending, but no foreign wars except for Iraq and Afghanistan? Is that a fair assessment? Is that?
No,
No?
I don't think so. There is a strong strain of isolationism, but those are those people, and they're in the same party as people who are very much not isolationists. So you've got both, and they, in the end, they usually support each other. I mean, Rand Paul is one of the only ones in the Senate who is actually going to vote against this kind of stuff, and the rest of them are all going to vote for it anyway. They might be grumbling about it, but they'll certainly go for it. And you've got many Republicans who are the opposite of isolationists. So you've got it all, a big old mishmash. But when it comes to Ukraine, the person who really explained it really well and very, very simply was Barbara Lee, who said, this is not the Americans attacking Afghanistan and Iraq. This is not what this is. This is America helping a country who's been attacked by Russia to defend itself. And there are not American troops over there fighting, and the U.S. is being, somewhat, the U.S. isn't offering them weapons that can reach Moscow or that can be used aggressively. So they could. The U.S. could do that. They could give them the best planes, and it's certainly not doing that.
And Barbara Lee voted against the war authorization with Afghanistan. She was the only vote against it.
Only vote.
Only
vote. And she got death for doing it.
She got what?
Death threats for doing it.
And so she supports giving weapons and support to Zelensky in Ukraine, correct?
That is correct.
What about reports that Dianne Feinstein... I'm sorry?
He's pointing out the difference between the U.S. attacking Iraq and the U.S. giving support to a country defending itself from a fascist takeover. There is a difference.
Right. What about reports that Nancy Pelosi is keeping Dianne Feinstein alive until 2024? So the Democrat...
How do we know that Feinstein is actually alive? We don't know. I mean, I've seen the pictures. They don't look alive to me. But the fact of the matter is that the person who is the actual senator right now is Nancy Pelosi or Nancy Pelosi's daughter. I mean, one of them is in effect making all of the decisions. I had assumed it was someone in Feinstein's staff who's been making all of the decisions for the last few years, while Feinstein doesn't have a mind anymore. But as it turns out, it's been the Pelosi family.
It is.
No wonder she's screaming about sexism.
So Dianne Feinstein, I mean, there's no question that she should step aside, but the Pelosi family is afraid that Gavin Newsom will appoint who to replace Dianne Feinstein?
Good question. I mean, everyone people are saying that they're afraid that Newsom would appoint Barbara Lee, but Newsom isn't going to do that. He's just not. Barbara Lee is running. He's going to appoint a caretaker who agrees not to run for the seat.
Nancy Pelosi's oldest daughter. She's already a caretaker.
He could do that.
So you're saying that the rumor that's been going around that
he's appoint a black woman.
But so the rumor that he would appoint Barbara Lee to replace Dianne Feinstein and then give her the incumbency advantage over Schiff, which is what Pelosi doesn't want. Those rumors,
right?
That's not true.
And neither does Newsom want. He doesn't want that. It's not going to happen. There are other black women who she's not the only black woman he could appoint. He will appoint somebody else, and that'll end the thing. If Feinstein, is pronounced dead officially or retires.
Okay, let's turn to, in our limited time, Tim Scott today from South Carolina declared that he's a candidate for the Republican nomination.
I just want to know why there are more closet cases in the Republican Party in South Carolina than in any other state in the country. It's just shocking, and it has been shocking to me for over a decade once I started figuring it out. It's like you join the Republican Party upper ranks, and I don't know if you only can get in if you're gay or you turn gay once you get in. I don't know what it is, but they're all gay. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I just don't understand it.
So you're saying that the senator from South Carolina, Lindsey Graham.
Well, Lindsey Graham we know about, right? That's not even in the closet anymore. And the other one just says, he's a bachelor who hasn't found the right woman. Oh, they both say that. Both Lindsey Graham and Tim Scott say they haven't found the right woman yet.
So Tim Scott's a bachelor.
He is a bachelor. He is a lifelong bachelor who's been looking.
He's been looking. Interesting.
For a beard. He occasionally finds beards.
So why do you think the two senators, what is that?
It's not just them. That's just the two senators. The whole party is gay. They're all gay. It's amazing. It's an amazing. I wonder if they have their meeting, their committee meetings at a gay bar.
Wow, I had no idea that Tim Scott was so
closeted.
So the pathology of being black and allegedly black and allegedly gay and a Republican, there's a lot of self-loathing going on there, right?
There is a lot of self-loathing, and you'll notice that a lot of people who are endorsing him now, like Thune and the other South Dakota guy. These are not these people are endorsing someone who's blackish.
Right. It's so funny, we always talk about Republicans voting against their own interests. Now they're running against their own interests. Very, very sick party. In our limited time left with you, talk to me about Chinese loan sharks, because on this show, all we do is crap on the World Bank and the WTO and the IMF and how we're loan sharks, and we do it to break these countries so we can privatize their natural resources. What's going on with China?
China's worse. They don't want to privatize the natural resources. They when they sign these loans, they make the natural resources the collateral. So they grab the natural resources. I remember one time I wrote about this. I was in Hambantota, which is at the very southern tip of Sri Lanka, and they hadn't really started building it yet, but they were about to start building. The Chinese were about to start building a port. And they have done that now. The Sri Lankan government couldn't, in the end, not enough ships came, and they couldn't pay for it. So China now owns the port.
This is a question that I have asked of really bright, smart people. I don't claim to be bright or smart, but I've had some really bright, smart people. I've had access to them. And I've asked them what the Belts and Roads Initiative has been like for these countries that fall under China's spell. And they say, well, they're not as bad as the IMF or the World Bank. And so you're saying...
Well, they're all going to default. I mean, some of them have already. No, that's a horrible initiative, and it's been terrible for the countries that have been part of it.
Well, this is the first I've heard about it. Up until I read Down with Tyranny yesterday, this is the first I've heard of gangster capitalism in China, and they're being loan sharks. Before we wrap it up, Rudy Giuliani's lawsuit that was filed against him, gobbling Viagra, talking to Donald Trump on the phone while the woman performs oral sex on him. Can you explain the psychology? I can't think of a bigger boner killer than Donald Trump's voice. You deal with really powerful, powerful men, especially in the record industry. Is there a sexual turn on to getting Donald Trump to talk to you on the phone? Does that make some men hard? Not in a homoerotic way, but is there a link between power and
Power. It's all about power.
But is there a sexual component purely to power?
You bet there is. And I mean, I don't know why you're talking about men. I mean, what about women?
Being turned on by power.
Power. Yeah.
But for Rudy Giuliani to ask a woman to get on her knees while he's talking.
She had on her knees.
I'm sorry?
And she got on her knees.
And she got on her. So there's a whole. And do you think Donald?
I mean, Rudy Giuliani. I mean, you need something to. I mean, she must be on drugs. I mean, you need to get on your knees in front of that.
Right. Okay. DeSantis, is he in?
No, please. You want me to be late for my meeting?
Just very quickly, is DeSantis in or out?
In or out of what? Trouble?
Is he going to declare?
Going to run? Yes, he's announcing on Wednesday.
And Pence?
I assume that he'll announce the week after.
Okay.
I think it's.
He
started a PAC that can raise money for his presidential. I mean, theoretically, he didn't start it, but he did. He started a PAC to raise money for a presidential campaign.
Fantastic. Howie Klein, founder and treasurer of the Blue America PAC. Read him every day over at Down with Tyranny. And let's talk about bringing Jason Call in on Friday night. I'll talk to you tomorrow, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Howie Klein. Read him. Thank you, Howie. Read Howie Klein every day over at Down with Tyranny. And there's a piece by Jason Call in yesterday's edition of Down with Tyranny. Read Down with Tyranny. Please like this episode. That's the best way to help the show. And please share it. A lot of great information coming to you from Howie Klein that you will not hear anywhere else, especially the stuff about Tim Scott. I did not know this about Tim Scott. I read up on Tim Scott. I prepared everything I could about Tim Scott, and it turns out he's just like Lindsey Graham. So that's the kind of the important information that you get by reading Howie Klein and listening to this show. So please share, especially this episode, with your friends. That's the second best way to help grow this podcast. Please leave a comment. As you know, my regular listeners know, I read all your comments. So please comment. Please subscribe to this channel. Friday night, office hours, 8 p.m., we're going to have perhaps we'll have Jason Call, who's running on the Green Party ticket for Washington's 2nd Congressional District. We have Dr. Harriet Fraad scheduled. We're going to have Barry W. Lynn, and we're going to be talking about Israel. And, I'll tell you about that tomorrow. It's a long story. I'm David Feldman, reminding you to stay strong and protect the weak. Thank you all for watching.